Max Keiser went on the Alex Jones show. Why is this important? Why is this relevant? It's irrelevant. Again, breaking the Bitcoin echo chamber, getting the message of Bitcoin to audiences that are not plugged in to the Bitcoin news cycle or to Bitcoin content creators. Let's check out what Keiser has to say. Here we go.
I think it's clear to say that Bitcoin has achieved escape velocity, that it'll become the world global standard. And the total addressable market for Bitcoin is the market in financials on planet Earth, which is roughly $400 trillion. So you got to potentially move from $1.7 trillion in market cap up to 400 trillion. So do the math. It's extraordinarily high. Let's say it captures between 40 or 50% of a $400 trillion market. That's still, you're talking millions of dollars per coin. And that's the future of where Bitcoin is going, because it is perfect money. And what do I mean by perfect money? Is that it is a way for commerce to happen without any friction whatsoever and without any problems with inflation whatsoever. So that since it cannot be printed by any government or corporation, and there's a finite supply, therefore, anybody who makes Bitcoin and saves Bitcoin, they know that Bitcoin will be accepted anywhere that they go on planet Earth, which is they can travel through space. And they know that in any time in the future, they can use their Bitcoin to interact and conduct commerce as well. So you travel through time.
So you're saying Bitcoin is the singularity of currency?
It is the singularity. I call it the Bitcoin singularity.
And of course, guys, Keiser has been going on Alex Jones' show for like a decade, telling him about this. Alex Jones has not listened, but the beautiful thing about number go up technology is that eventually everyone bows down. I've been trying to orange pill my parents-in-law for as long as I've been in Bitcoin, 8 years. It wasn't until about a year or two ago that they capitulated, because they're like, okay, this kid, has a YouTube channel, has a beard. Like, why should I listen to him? And then all of a sudden they see number go up. Like, number go up eventually makes everyone bow down to the king. This is Larry Fink. It's Donald Trump, right? Like everyone, nation states, the Kingdom of Bhutan, potentially Qatar, potentially the United Arab Emirates, the United States, talking about a strategic Bitcoin stockpile. Like, this is Bitcoin's superior incentives. And this is why the ECB wrote a paper freaking the F out. This is Bitcoin's incentives ruling the day and proving. And I think this is the battle to come. So we just left what I call the disintermediation of information. That was broken the day that Trump won the election, because essentially what Trump proved is that he circumvented legacy media, which was completely biased and kept on attacking him, by going on podcast, independent media, going on Joe Rogan and getting incredible numbers, much higher numbers than any type of legacy media channel. So the day that happened, and when Elon bought X and freed the bird, so to speak, we are now entering a new age, what the sovereign individual predicted when they were talking about the transition into the information age. Information is now free. The average everyday person is not getting their news from the New York Times anymore. The most downloaded news app in America and many countries around the world is X, the rise of citizen journalism, the rise of independent media. So we witnessed the disintermediation of information. You saw how much they fought. There's a video of literally Hillary Clinton saying, if we don't rein and censor social media, we're going to lose total control. She was absolutely right. But now what we're transitioning to is the disintermediation of money and state. And I think it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be interesting, but we're in the first kind of innings of that, because remember, governments get a tremendous amount of power by not only having a monopoly on money, the creation of money, but also the control over money, therefore the control over people. Anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Brian. Brian, what are your thoughts on this? I think Max Keiser absolutely hit the ball out of the park when he was talking about that. What's your take?
All right, boys, follow me. I'm going to go on a little bit of a walk here, okay? But I'm going to weave it together. So, all right, talking about breaking the echo chamber. Well, to answer your question, yes, Max was right in where he got, but I actually think he's wrong in how he defined it, and I'm going to get to that. So, breaking the echo chamber. I just, even from my own personal experience, there was a hedge fund that reached out. They've never touched Bitcoin in their life until about 6 months ago. They reached out. They bought 200 copies of Bitcoin Evangelism for their highest net worth investors. That orange pilled them. They decided that their fund was going to buy $80 million worth of Bitcoin. They did that. Guess what? We're talking about how the echo chamber is being broken. Those people who just looked at it as an investment opportunity, those who bought these hedge funds that bought 6 months ago, that $80 million of Bitcoin is now well over $100 million. We're seeing the breaking of the echo chamber. And now, once you break outside of the echo chamber, you no longer have to do the work outside of the echo chamber with that group of people. That group of people is now working in their own echo chamber to further the message of Bitcoin. So you don't have to speak to the rest of those high net worth investors. The high net worth investors that have been orange pilled are now orange pilling. It's like the orange plague that's spreading across these places, and it's breaking. That echo chamber is breaking, and it's breaking very, very quickly. So if you guys don't know what's going on behind the scenes, I can assure you it is wildfire. You guys should be more bullish than you are. Everybody's bullish in the chat. You're not bullish enough. This is absolutely crazy. You guys pointed out to the charts earlier in the episode about the charts of sovereign nations and holders. We witnessed a David and Goliath story. Germany is the world's third largest economy. El Salvador is the world's 104th largest economy. Germany, Goliath, just took a massive L, like you guys pointed out. David, the little guy that could, is getting a massive W. That shows something to the rest of the world. If you're a small country or if you're a big country, Bitcoin has consequences for you, and it can change the future of how people perceive your nation. Now, what's the good news in that? A shot has been blast across the bow, because if you adopt Bitcoin, you win. If you short Bitcoin, you lose, no matter how big your economy is. Germany proved that. Now, people are, I'm watching morning shows before I came on here today, and on the major financial shows, they're saying, I don't think Trump's going to do a Bitcoin strategic reserve. That was just a campaign promise. What do you think is happening? Sovereign nations around the world are seeing people that adopt, or seeing countries that adopt Bitcoin take W's. They are now taking Bitcoin positions as well. Every new nation that adopts Bitcoin between now and January 20th increases the likelihood of not only a Bitcoin strategic reserve, but a Bitcoin strategic reserve on day one. We're not just talking about free Ross day one. We're talking about strategic reserve day one, because Trump will be forced to, unless he wants to lag behind. He prompted this run by his announcement. He doesn't want to get front run by all these countries who are taking credit for this position he's adopted. It's a self-fulfilling loop. And guys, where I think Max Keiser got this wrong, I told you I was going to weave it. All right. Where Max Keiser got this wrong, it's not the singularity. It is our Constantine moment. If you guys understand history, Rome oppressed the church for hundreds and hundreds of years, but the church just needed to hang on for long enough to make the conditions ripe enough so that the most powerful man in the world adopted the faith that his nation had previously oppressed. When that happens, in an instant, in an executive order from the emperor, the nation then becomes not a polytheistic nation. It now becomes a monotheistic nation, a Christian monotheistic nation, in one word, in one edict. That's what we're in. We're in the Constantine moment of Bitcoin. Whether you like Trump or not, there's plenty of people that didn't like Constantine. This is that type of moment, because money is a faith system. And that's where Max Keiser was right. Money is a faith system. People are, they're losing faith in the polytheism of fiat, and their faith is increasing every second that they see the Bitcoin price ticking up, new nations adopting it, hedge funds adopting it, you and I adopting it. The faith in Bitcoin is increasing, and tipping that moment, that Constantine moment, is what we're in right now. It's not the singularity. It's the rise of the Christian Roman Empire, but this one is Bitcoin.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh my God, I love the historical kind of examples, because there's a very famous quote, ladies and gentlemen, which is, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes, right? And if you study history, you will inevitably start to see patterns, right? People have to understand this. Human nature does not change. Technology could change, right? But human nature does not change, which means that over time, people tend to kind of repeat the same patterns. And if you kind of include inflation into this mix, guys, you can make a very strong argument that one of the primary reasons as to why the Roman Empire fell was due to inflation, right? In early America, they had a very, very bad experience with paper money, which is why a lot of the founding fathers were not fans of this. There's very famous quotes about George Washington and other presidents that were like, listen, paper money is a horrible, horrible idea. And it seems like it's like history, it repeats itself. And during the Roman Empire, it wasn't paper money. What they would do is coin clipping. So essentially, when it was the Roman Republic, the amount of silver per coin was like, I think it was like 89%. Towards the end of the Roman Empire, it was like 0.000000. It's a very small number. So essentially, history is repeating itself, but this time is different because we finally have something that will break the cycle, and that is Bitcoin. Opti, what's your take?
Yeah, well, it's hard to follow up such wisdom, but I do want to just touch on the idea of breaking the echo chamber. Obviously, guys, you know, we're on YouTube. Our goal is to get the Bitcoin message to as many people as possible. We have heard you guys, you know, the criticism, constructive criticism, if I'm being nicely, of like, man, just go on Rumble, you know, spread the good gospel, say what you really want to. But the goal here is to get as many people, as many new people watching Bitcoin, falling down the rabbit hole. And this is how we reach out to other people, is you go meet them where they are. And, you know, I think Brian made a point earlier where it's like, if you go out and talk to normal people, if you are still a person that talks to normal people, go out there and ask them about Bitcoin, and you start to realize just how early we are, how little people understand of what Bitcoin is. I think I have this meme that I always say, I think most of the planet has probably heard about Bitcoin, but in those numbers, most of those people don't know why we Bitcoin. And this is why it's so important to reach out, meet people where they are, get them to try to ask themselves questions. You know, we always ask the same question. You start asking yourself the simple question of what is money? And then you end up a Bitcoiner. You end up stacking aggressively. You end up realizing that, hey, maybe the fiat system has lied to me. Maybe there's other things that I need to question. But I think the point remains the same. We have crossed the Rubicon into mainstream consciousness, and it's only going to increase. We've been saying this pretty much all year, that we're feeling like, man, it really feels like everyone is starting to get curious about Bitcoin. And now it's like becoming a fact. I don't think it's a coincidence that once Trump came out, said he's going to be pro Bitcoin, we're seeing a Bitcoin price rise. We're seeing nation states front running other nation states, and the price is responding to it. I usually say that the Bitcoin price is a real-time metric of people's understanding of Bitcoin, but I was corrected once in the chat. And I like this one better, that the Bitcoin bottoms of the bear markets are the real-time metric of people's understanding of Bitcoin. And the price rise is obviously the FOMO, people trying to get in, you know, the get-rich-quick schemers out there. But Bitcoin is catching on. It's a global phenomenon, and the world is waking up to the power of Bitcoin, and you just love to see it.